Hi guys, Andy here. I've got another head-to-head for you today, which I'm hoping to be quite interesting. Both devices have a similar sort of price bracket, even though the LG G4 now is about 6 months newer than the Nexus 6. So the Nexus 6 on the left, running Android Marshmallow, running the Qualcomm Snapdragon 805 chipset with a quad-core 2.7 GHz Crate 450 and the Adreno 420 GPU with 3 GB of RAM. And on the right, the LG G4 running Lollipop on a Qualcomm Snapdragon 808 with a quad-core 1.44 GHz Cortex-A53, an Adreno 418 GPU and 3 GB of RAM. So on the specs, with the CPU speed twice the speed, you have to think, does that not give the Nexus a pretty big advantage? How much difference does the Snapdragon 808 make for the LG G4? The Adreno 420, I've got to assume, I don't know chipsets or chips inside out, but you've got to assume the 420 is better than the 418. So on specs alone, you would think the Nexus 6, although it's the older device, would have the edge. But who knows? That's why I do these tests, obviously. We're going to crack straight on with the Angry Birds opening test. Now, I know, as everyone says, well, not everyone says that. People don't say for a long time, actually, thinking about it. It's not particularly important. It's just a bit of an indicator on what... do you know what? I wasn't sure. Was it the LG G4? Well, that's done. We're going to be doing 3 of them in all. I think that was the G4 one. So it's just a little bit of an indicator. It's not... yeah, who cares in actuality, in reality, if it's literally a split second before. But, you know, we're trying to just test which device has more raw power, and this is one way for us to get an idea. So, yeah, the LG G4 winning. So this theory that the Nexus 6 hardware is actually more powerful thus far is not bearing up. And the G4 takes all 3. Fair enough. Let's move on to the actual benchmarks, which again a lot of people don't really put a lot of faith in. There you can see, look, the CPU speed difference. A lot of the rest of it, well, in the Adreno 418 to 420. So you can often tell how well a handset does by how quickly it moves through the test. Now in this instance, the Nexus 6 is just sneaking ahead. Now as usual, I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing. We jump ahead to near the end. The Nexus 6 comes up with 3,290, a very respectable Geekbench 3 score. The LG G4 taking longer and clocking up 3,547. Very good. I've got to say, that surprised me. Wasn't expecting that. I was thinking the Nexus 6 raw power would win over. But anyway, well done LG G4. It's 2-0 ahead at the moment. Now we head outside for the GPS test. So I wait for them both to get a decent lock. Then I reset the AGPS state. As you can see, both of them saying AGPS state cleared. Then I go back into the app, and we see how long it takes them to lock. You see the G4 locks onto 8, 9, 11 and gets a lock very quickly. Impressive stuff. The Nexus 6, which I have to say, I use it day in, day out. I use it for my sat-nav. You know, it guides me anywhere I need to go. I've never had a problem. I've never struggled with it not knowing where I am that I can remember. But it's kind of embarrassed itself in this test. It's taken a very long time. So clearly the LG G4 takes the there we go, finally the Nexus 6 has got a lock. Now like I said, to be honest, I ran this again because I kind of was surprised that it took so long, because like I said, I use it every day and never have a problem. But the second run did exactly the same thing, so I thought fair enough, that's a true fair reflection, let's go with it. So the LG G4 has the win. Now the Nexus 6 with its twin stereo speakers, you think should have the advantage here. The LG G4 speaker around the back. I know some people might moan, well, you can't leave it with the speaker against the cloth, but that's how I listen to my music, with the, you know, how do you operate it otherwise? So that's how I do my sound tests. Let's start off with the Nexus 6.
Tell me where to go, tell me what to do. I'll be right there for you. Tell me what to say, tell me what to do. It's true, I'll be right there for you.
A few issues with the Nexus 6 not stopping.
I'll say it all for you, for you, for you.
I used to be the type
for you, for you, for you, for you.
I used to be the type of kid that Would always think the sky is falling. Why am I so differently wired? Would always think the sky is falling. Why am I so differently wired? Am I a Martian? Am I a Martian? What kind of twisted experiment am I involved in? Cause I don't belong in this world. That's why I'm scoffing at authority, defying all. What kind of twisted experiment am I involved in? Cause I don't belong in this apartment complex on a 10 speed, which I forget. But if this is all there is for me, life offers white.
I don't know how audible it is through the camera microphone there, but actually the LG G4 is surprisingly loud. The Nexus 6, this is normally its sure lock for a victory. Front-facing speakers,
essentially gave organizations like GCHQ and the NSA a free rein to go do mass surveillance. It also overturned a lot of the rules and essentially gave organizations like GCHQ and the NSA a free rein to go do mass surveillance. It also overturned a lot of the laws, and now we're in the situation where people are clamoring for the Googles and the Facebooks and the Twitters to and laws, and now we're in the situation where people are clamoring for the Googles and the Facebooks and the Twitter lock them out and provide real to lock them out and provide real uncrackable.
I think that's quite a tough decision. I might even leave that to you guys. I might call that a dead heat. Maybe the Nexus 6 has the slightly more rounded sound, but possibly the G4 actually slightly better volume. I don't know. I'll let you guys call that. I'm going to leave it as a dead heat. Then we move on to the browser test. I'm just clearing previous browser data. Then we're going to start off as usual with the BBC website. Try and get them both at the same time. Possibly a Nexus 6 win there. Just almost need a slow motion replay. But just the Nexus 6 with the victory, I think. And we'll move on to NFL.com. The G4 sneaking through. And again, as with Angry Birds opening test, it's not, it won't really, if you're running, so the N6 lost that time, but if you were, someone said to look up something on NFL.com, you wouldn't be like moaning them because it's not loading in time, and, the Nexus 6 a little laggy there. So it's 1-1, we're going to go for the last one, as usual, Engadget. Try and get them at the same time. The deciding page, the G4 just snuck through. It's up with the cookie yet. So the G4 takes that 2-1 in the browser test. So I think that was, I'll be honest, I was quite surprised by that. The G4, I believe they can be bought, well actually if you street value, so to speak, you can find them for sort of £300 already. It's only been out for a few months, but actually this is that's a lot of power for a £300 device, really. I have to say, from those tests, I'm really quite impressed. Makes me see it in a bit of a different light. I didn't realise it would do so well, especially when you see that it has got that 1.4 gigahertz quad core. But actually, it's done the business. It's pretty much demolished the Nexus 6. I'm not sure it's enough that would make me switch from the Nexus 6, because I do love my huge big screen. I love those stereo speakers, front-facing stereo speakers. But still a very respectable result by the LG G4. So there you go. Give me your comments down below of what you think. My name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.